And we're live. Well, welcome everyone. Nice to have you here. Hi, Claire, Rosie, Albert, everyone who's watching.
Hey guys.
Welcome to our weekly general live stream. Today we have Coles with us, represented by Claire and Rosie. My name is Tony. We also have one of our co-founders and CEO, Albert, with us. And today we're going to talk about the AI agent era of influence. I think it's a very interesting topic. We've covered a lot of those topics around AI agents in the previous weeks. Most of you have seen Edgar's in the last weeks. So today I'm very pleased to welcome Albert. And before we start, I would like to tell you what, first of all, Genlayer and Coles is about and who we are. So my name is Tony. I'm the head of content and community in Genlayer. We have today with us Claire Rennie, who is the CEO of Coles, and Rosie Sargsyan, who is the KOL lead of Coles. Claire is, as I said, the CEO. She drives the company's vision, the growth, and the strategic direction. And Rosie is the KOL lead. She's 4+ years in Web3 business development and marketing. And Coles, for those of you who are wondering, is an AI-powered influencer marketing platform that creates AI replicas that engage, interact, and grow your brand. Also with us, we have Albert. Albert is a serial entrepreneur. He's been involved in crypto since forever, Albert, right? Since 2013. He co-founded several startups. He's been working at Radix, DLT, BadgerDAO, NEM. So yeah, basically around forever. I still remember the old NEM days when I wasn't even involved in crypto. And what we are building as a team is Genlayer, trust infrastructure for the AI age. And what it is an AI-powered distributed ledger and digital decision maker. How we're enabling this is by integrating LLMs directly in the consensus layer to enable trustless agreements and real-time resolution for smart contracts, dApps, agents, and entire entities, organizations, whatever you want to integrate this in. Well, before we start going into agentic era of influence, I would like to ask you what you think of like an honest take on the state of agents, like AI agents, especially in crypto. Where are we? What's happening? There's a lot of talk about agents, but then there's kind of an asymmetry between their value creation, so what's happening? Maybe we start with Rosie, and then I can also pass the question to the others.
Sure. I would love to start talking about AI agents, my favorite topic. I mean, where we are starting from the last year, it was like we saw the hype, we saw the wave of the AI agents and how everyone was talking about them, and like more and more new AI agents appearing on crypto Twitter. But I feel like we're in a state that people care more about actual implementation and use cases, and not that excited about just bots on Twitter. I feel like I feel like from the start there were like two mostly like discussed topics. First of all, just excitement about these AI agents on Twitter, and the second one was like cool demos, but not things that plug into like existing workflows in a meaningful way. So I feel like we are there, that everything is going to meaningful use cases, and in a way that we don't have the whole excitement about just bots. So yeah. I feel like there's like new wave coming very, very soon. So we will see real use cases, AI agents helping with research, with customer support, with being moderators, or even internal ops, like how our partner Project Sensei is doing.
Albert, what do you think?
I mean, I would love to hear what KOLs have to say, but like for me, we have seen quite a few agents. I mean, what Rosie was saying, I think it's right. I think that it's not just about tweeting anymore. I think where we're going is a place where basically they're going to be able to make money, right? And you can identify what makes sense for them to make money on, right? They have very good context. They have a lot of time to like research and try to find different types of like essentially opportunities, right? So the idea is here, we're going to a world with billions and billions of agents, right? They're going to be costing some money. So you're going to be asking these agents, hey, you're costing me $100 a month, whatever, go and make more than $100 a month, right? If that happens, then it's going to be as many as you can. So the question is, what can they do? They can create content, they can find bugs, they can write code, they can try to find different types of opportunities in the market, right? And then what we're proposing here is, hey, actually, how do they deal with each other? How can they trust each other, right? We know that these agents don't sleep. These agents are very smart. These agents can't go to jail. So what we're doing is we're essentially trying to create a trust infrastructure for them to be able to deal with each other, right? But yeah, I think that 2025 is going to be the year of the agent. I think that you saw in the last 2 days basically that Google released like 3 agentic tools, like an open source one and like a Cursor competitor. They also did like some like agentic marketplace as well. So like it's very, very, very much in the center of the picture right now, right? And so I think that this is the year that we will see agents absolutely everywhere, and they're going to start to be useful, not just for tweeting, but actually for doing relevant tasks, right? So yeah.
Where do you, like Claire or Rosie, whoever wants to answer this question, where do you see the clearest use case? I mean, obviously you at Calls are doing these AI replicas, but what is, like, apart from that, or maybe you also want to dive into that and explain your favorite use case that you see.
I can go ahead. I feel like what AI agents, how we separate AI agents from bots is like that they need to have, they need to do like these end-to-end tasks, and the most like tangible use cases in my head is like connected everything to like support, customer support, any operations, or some productivity. I feel like we're on the right path here, because we can basically get there that AI agents can handle end-to-end tasks here. For me, like even if we're talking about like internal ops, like it's not automated bots already like do a lot of things, but AI agents need to be, you need to like just go to your AI agent, say that I have this goal, I need to make this happen, and they do the job for you. So these are the industries or like the places that I see that can happen in the future.
I think what we're seeing as well is that the reliability is starting to get there, right? It really has taken a while, but like until very, very recently, they were just not reliable, right? When we started GenLayer and Jaeger, so that we started looking into, okay, how can you have an agent building its own tooling? How can you have maybe more reliable systems, right? And only now they're starting to be reliable enough that you can start to do things with them. It was until very recently that you couldn't do anything like that.
Can you explain, Albert, what you mean by reliability for those people who probably have never tried an agent, have just got into it? Like, what does that mean?
I think that maybe a step even back, like a step to define what an agent is, right? So an agent is essentially a piece of software that goes to an LLM to understand, okay, like to plan ahead and to then execute, right? So you have a bunch of software that has some tools, and then you're asking the LLM, okay, I want to get to that specific goal. What are the tools that I should be using? And then it's planning and executing those tools, over time, right? So like multiple iterations in a loop, right? So the problem with the original, like the earlier models, right? The earlier LLMs were just not reliable. So for example, GPT-3, there was no what's called function calling. You couldn't even tell the LLM, okay, I have these specific tools that you can call, these functions or methods that you can call, right? So it was just, making it up. Maybe sometimes it was responding with a well-formatted JSON, maybe it wasn't, right? So I don't know. We had a demo with a customer at one point, and like the agent right before the demo decided to essentially reset the database, right? Like delete everything. So like that's not reliable, right? And so our thesis originally was, hey, the way to really make it reliable is to essentially have multiple agents that are specialized on specific things, essentially reducing the degrees of freedom, right? And then you have, specific verticals that are specialized on doing something, right? So for example, if you look at the Google thing from yesterday, it's very much on that front, right? You have a multi-agent system framework that you can essentially specialize each one of the agents, right? So this one is very good at managing the calendar. This one is very good at booking stuff, right? So that's I think the way right now to make it more reliable. Over time, it will be like across the board anyway, but yeah.
Yeah, how do you guys think we will expand on these use cases? Like, what could be a certain, direction? I mean, you said reliability, Albert. Like, what is awaiting us? Like, for me, it's always hard to imagine. I've just tried out, Hey Anon. So I tried out, swapping ETH to, USDC from ETH to Solana. Didn't work because, there was some bug in the bridge, or they didn't have a bridge at all. I'm not sure. Something wasn't working. But this really just shows the potential, right? It's just the first step. Like, I can only imagine how this would look like if if you have an implementation an integration to every chain, and you can just cross swap chain, give your intent, and then it just goes ahead. Like, how far do we take this? Is it like, hey, agent, make 100% APY for me with these and these risk preferences? Like, where is it going? Whoever wants to answer, feel free.
I think, yeah,
I can jump in. Yeah, I think like the possibilities are really limitless at this point. I feel like we're definitely in like the hype phase of things where everyone's talking about AI agents, but they're not necessarily connected to a real workflow yet. Even though they might have the technical capabilities, we need to kind of move from hype to revenue at this point. So I think kind of different AI agents are taking different strategies for that. For us, we're making our AI agents revenue through marketing services through our KOLs. And then our technology partner, Sensei, that Rosie mentioned earlier, they are creating AI agents for people in the workplace. So they have a really cool kind of individual use case where their agents are able to almost act as an HR position where they onboard new employees. Employees store all of their personal information with their AI agent so that if they ever leave the company, no knowledge is lost. So I think it kind of really depends what value you're going for there. But really, there's no limits in this space. I think we can take it however far we want.
Can you tell us how the KOLs work? Like, essentially on the marketing front, like what do the agents do?
Yeah, so we as Cold kind of act as an AI marketing agency. So we create digital replicas of our KOLs, and then we pitch them to projects to work with them. So we create custom packages where our AI agents can be like website chatbots, welcoming people to the website with the personality, reputation, and face of the KOL themselves. They can do Telegram, Discord bots where they act as like a 24/7 moderator within different community groups that can be programmed with the project's information. We use HeyGen so that we can pre-program videos of the KOLs, kind of giving people brand descriptions. Essentially a marketing agency that goes for every touch point of the user journey. We're also looking at a Twitter integration, which we've been kind of talking to you guys about as well. So the Twitter integration would be more automatic posting from the KOLs accounts. And then that would be able to kind of pitch them to projects as always on brand ambassadors where they can automatically like, retweet, and comment certain brands' posts so that we can guarantee that they will be like your number one fan on Twitter and different social media platforms, as well as automatically posting about them.
Very interesting. I mean, how do you plug in? Is it like just a memory feature that every replica agent has of this certain KOL? Like, how much information do you feed into this to make it very accurate?
A lot. So Rosie is our KOL lead. So she individually onboards each KOL. It's a very personalized process where we are very specific with not sharing any information that they aren't comfortable with. In the onboarding process, we also ask them, are there any specific topics that you want your replica to avoid? How do you want them to avoid these topics? Or what common phrases do you use? How do you want your replica to talk? Do you want it to be friendly, personable, more casual? So we ask them quite a few questions in the questionnaire, and then we also pull all of their online information. So if they have different interviews they've done, articles they've written, posts they've done online, we pull all of that data and then try to learn from it continuously. So we update them daily, especially with crypto news. So you can say what's happening in the crypto market today, and they'll be able to let you know from the personality of the KOL. And then once we have the Twitter integration, it will also learn in real time from every tweet that they put out from their individual account.
Very interesting.
How do they feel about it? Like, what is the feedback? from the users or from the KOLs? I guess.
Yeah, I was about to ask the same.
I think they're excited. I think some people get nervous because they wonder what the replica will say. So that's why we always try to give the point of it's not going to say anything offside, or it's not going to come up with information. It's only going to say what you've either shared with us or what you've shared online. And if you ask it a question that it's either not programmed to know, or it's one of those risky topics that we want to avoid, it will just say, I'm not willing to answer this at this point. So I think we kind of eliminate that risk factor there by telling them about that information. That seems to be the most common concern. Other than that, they're excited.
Interesting. Is it accurate? Like when you tell, like if you have certain topics that are not, like how much is the AI, let's say, hallucinating at this point? Like, did it ever happen that, you know, someone is like, okay, actually that's a topic I didn't want to talk about, and now it's out there, you know?
So far, we haven't seen it. Rosie and I do check it. Like I'll come up with kind of risky topics to ask it about. And it does respond very accurately. We also, as we mentioned before, Sensei is who is providing our technology for this. And they actually have this feature called a hallucination checker, where they're kind of constantly updating the technology. And yeah, essentially, the replicas know as much as we've taught them. So some of our KOLs have been willing to share kind of more personal details with us. Some of them want to stay a little bit more private in their personal life. So you might get the answers more often where it says, I'm not willing to share that information at this point, whereas some share a lot. So it kind of is individual per person.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, I mean, have you seen any other challenges apart from the hallucination? Like, you know, if I think of, you know, I'm just a casual user. I just want to deploy a replica everywhere on LinkedIn, X, you know, every social media platform. Like, what are bottlenecks to that?
I think some KOLs are also scared, like a lot of people are, that AI agents are going to take over their jobs. So I think some people might be kind of hesitant to that. But we also just kind of reinforce that it's only expanding your reach. It's not taking over. So obviously a KOL can't be posting 24/7 on their own accounts, but with us, they can be. They can also be commenting, liking, retweeting, kind of doing all of the different engagements. So I'd say, just kind of getting through those integrations, the APIs on the different social media platforms, and then they're pretty set up from there.
Very interesting. Okay, so looking at calls and what you guys are doing, if you look at the broader space, you know, like there's influencers, kind of AI replicas of certain KOLs. How is this, like, where do we move forward from here? Like, you just mentioned, right, people are afraid that AI agents will take their job. But I mean, Albert mentioned before reliability. As these systems get more reliable, integrated into, you know, different, let's say, platforms, I mean, that's a concern, right? Like, I know that, you know, we've organized a lot of events here in Berlin, and I know that people actually care the most about, like, you get a crazy engaged group if you start talking about AI taking away your jobs. Like, everyone is like on the edge of their seats, you know, like listening, like what's happening. Then everyone has an opinion all of a sudden, which is okay, you know. Like, I think we need these conversations. But yeah, just wondering what your take is on that.
Yeah, I think with the job market, people shouldn't be scared of AI taking their jobs. They should be scared of not adapting and learning to it. Because in my opinion, why would someone hire you if they can hire someone else that can work 10 times the speed, be 10 times as accurate with their AI tools that they're capable of using? I think it's the same with influencers, that if you're not open to using AI at this point, maybe not making an AI agent, then you're going to be left behind. Why would you not reach the maximum amount of audience that you can? Why would you not work with as many projects as you can? Why would you not use these tools available to expand your capabilities? So I don't think it's necessarily taking over. I think anyone that's not open to using it is just going to get left behind.
Do you agree, Albert?
100%. It raises the bar for everybody. It empowers everybody, and it raises the bar for everybody. So like either you use it or you're going to be left behind. I agree. Yeah, I think that there's tons of things to do, and I don't think that there's enough compute in the planet to do absolutely everything. I think it's going to be taking, you know, a Dyson sphere to actually get sufficient compute that we really, really don't have anything to do. So I think it's just like we're just going through all the, you know, different phases of trauma, and then just we're at that point, right? So I think it's just not evenly distributed, the understanding on what AI will really mean. There's a lot of taxi drivers that still don't understand what it, that cars can right now already drive pretty much, autonomously. So that's already crazy. But like that is pretty much everything, right? I think that there's going to be, of course, some job loss. There's going to be also some new opportunities, right? I think there's going to be more job loss than new opportunities, to be honest. But then I think that everybody will be able to do much more. So code everywhere. I think code will be really, really, really cheap. Everything will go open source, right? And that's a bit like as well, like why we think that it's very difficult to compete just with code. We think it's more like, what is the ultimate moat? And for us, is trust, right? So it's like, how can we build infrastructure for trust? Because like in a world where everybody, can write code for free and we have, thousands of agents working for us, I guess, like answering to you, Tony, before, right? Like to me, it's like, you will have, 10 of them, and each one of them are going to be doing, some task for a few hours or a few days or something like this, and then we'll report back to you, right? So I cannot wait to see, like, how autonomous they are, like if they start to sue each other or not, if they start to trick each other or not, if they start to, like what type of, how far away without, any type of control do we let them go. But like we've seen for years that like people are very eager to try, right? So like people will be trying, and we will need the guardrails to make that happen, right? I mean, I guess like for addressing your description of GenLayer, right? The way I look at GenLayer is we're building essentially this like synthetic jurisdiction, like this global like court system, let's say, this digital court system that works globally, that anybody can come in and essentially build legal frameworks on top, right? So it's like a framework for legal frameworks that essentially has an automated judge and can make trustless decisions, right? So for me, it's like, okay, so the more intelligent that these AIs become, that these agents become, the more pain they can cause, the more, commerce they can actually generate too, right? The more value they can do. It's very, both of them will be increased massively, and they will essentially need a way to be able to coordinate without, having to require a centralized entity, right?
There's a very good question to that, Albert. So Vatan is asking, how does GenLayer's optimistic democracy model handle disagreements between AI agents from different ecosystems?
Yeah. So the way that it works is GenLayer is essentially like the decision maker, let's say, right? So it's a trustless decision maker. You can call it, say, from any one of the interoperability protocols that is connected to the GenLayer chain, right? So let's, for example, Hyperledger is already going to be like from testnet, but you will have Layer 0 and Daxlar, as many as we can, right? You can also do it through the ZK Sync gateway as well. So like what we want is there to be as many entry points as possible, so that from any existing blockchain, L1, L2, doesn't matter, you can connect to GenLayer to ask for a decision or essentially run an intelligent contract, right? It doesn't even need to go from a smart contract. You can have an off-chain agent that is essentially entering a deal with something on chain, essentially deploying a contract or triggering a contract, right? So for example, the KOLs like agents, which are off-chain, right? They can potentially interact on-chain and essentially be users of the system, right? But yeah, like even if they're completely different, and that's the whole point, right? Like if you have two OpenAI agents, maybe they will even potentially be able to trust each other, right? Because they have the third party, which is OpenAI itself, that can dissolve some disputes there, right? Resolve some disputes. But if you have, an agent in China that's run by whatever, it's using DeepSeek, and another one in the US doing something with OpenAI or Claude or whatever, then how do they trust each other, right? And that's the thing. You have a contract that essentially is capable of essentially understanding natural language, going out to the outside world to understand what's going on as well, right? And then making a decision, right? So they don't need to trust each other. The disagreement can be codified on the intelligent contract to then be resolved autonomously.
Okay, I think there's a lot of information to unpack here. Like, right, we could double click on everything that Rosie, Claire, and Albert just said before. I just wanted to, kind of throw in that question because it perfectly fit to what we were talking about. I think it's very interesting and compelling, especially if you think about, Albert, the point that you just mentioned, that, two agents from OpenAI could eventually trust each other, but you could have agents, all over the world. Like, what if China just copies, whatever AI, whatever model is out there, and then you have all of a sudden you have so many and they can't trust each other. That being said, there's one question that is from Shrieks. Hey Shrieks, do you feel like with the rise of vibe coding, building agents will be less compelling in the future? Whoever wants to
I think
to answer.
KOL is more in line with the agentic
Rosie,
framework.
this one?
If we're talking about like deploying agents on centralized networks, I feel like that can happen. But if we're talking about having like our individual agents, I'm not sure about vibe coding. So I don't know, like I'm not the most technical person. I guess you will answer better.
Yeah.
To me, like if you look at what Google released yesterday, right? Basically, you can, with natural language, write an agent. This was released by Google yesterday, right? I think it's A2A. I don't remember the name. I think it's A2A, right? So there's like a marketplace. You can essentially buy code. So just with natural language, you can essentially define an agent, right? And then you start to operate it, right? So I think that everything will become by, my take is that everything will become by coding. Everything will just be natural language, right? The ultimate language is natural language, right? It's like you don't need a programming language. Programming language is just, a higher level language from the lower level, let's say, the computer language, right? And then you have on top of this, you have natural language, which is higher than programming, although it's not easy, right? Like you need to define things very well for it to be reliable and actually work, right? So you will see that the frameworks will become more reliable and will understand better. Okay, you actually mean that thing or the other thing, or but in my opinion, everything will become vibe coded, right?
Where is the competitive advantage to that then? Like I know Edgar's last year in our call said, well, if you have these agent frameworks, we talked about agent frameworks, and he's like, yeah, then you can all of a sudden, you can create those AI agents, you can create millions of them, thousands of them. But first of all, like I was trying to understand, where is the specialization in that? How do you create something that is unique to something that someone else created? And what would be your competitive advantage to that?
I think what Coles is doing is part of that, right? So for example, if you are a very good marketer, you come from Google, you've been working in marketing at Google for many years and so on, you've got all your notes from meetings and all these things, like all the fireflies and all the meetings, it's been following you for a very long time. And then you get that information, you can put that know-how inside of an agent in a way that it can potentially monetize its know-how, right? That's how you start to essentially create the service economy, right? You can essentially have agents that have your own understanding of the world and then can go essentially scale you up, right? It can do business on your behalf, right? That's why we think there's going to be like, literally trillions of agents out there, and there's going to be trillions of dollars of commerce just happening between them all the time, right? Because like, do you really need your agent to be doing a video? My agent is very much trained on, let's say, product, right? Maybe it can just hire the services from another agent to do, the video of the product instead of actually my agent having to change its focus and working there. It's not so dissimilar that how humans work. It's just, much faster, right? And like everybody's a bit specialized on everything, so the bar is raised, but you can have specialization, right? If you know a lot of marketing, your agent will potentially know a lot of marketing, much more than others that are not specialized, right? That's why it's also important, how do you deal with data, right? How do you are you trying to keep all the data that you're generating, or are you just wasting it away, right? So, I think
a lot to unpack there as well, right? We could chime here for another hour, I think. And this reminds me that every time we set those topics, I'm like, will it be enough? Will it be enough for us to talk about those? And it's never enough. Like you could literally set one question. If you just go into these topics, you would, just end up talking an hour still. Okay. Albert, you mentioned privacy, value creation, and disputes. I don't want to go too deep into privacy because that would be a whole another topic for itself. But value creation, if you look at that, Claire, like how do these agents, like let's take the example of Coles or any other agent if you want, like how do they create, value? Like if you look at, if I look at AI XPT, Fraser has had a very high mind share in the last few days. They're all tweeting for themselves basically, right? Like sometimes they're promoting something else that they think, you know, fits to their ethos or to whatever data they're trained on, or to their beliefs, to their you know, bias, let's say, which Albert will tell us something about in a second. But how do they create value? What are monetization mechanisms? You know, how are you playing into all of this?
I think the value is really in the KOL themselves. So obviously KOLs are getting paid by different projects to promote them. So all we're really doing is expanding their services and letting the replica do the work for them. So once a KOL gets onboarded with us, we set up the replica, and then depending on the services we're offering, they can essentially sit back and let the replica just do the work for them. So it's obviously able to increase value by being available 24/7. It can work with more projects than ever before, and there's a lot of more automation involved. So instead of the KOL actually sitting down, writing the posts themselves, creating the videos, doing what they usually do, it's just all automated. So we can work at 20 times the speed that they usually do. It's exactly what the brand's looking for. We ask the brand, is there anything that you don't want the replica to say about your project? Is there anything you want them to focus on? We can involve different trading aspects into it. So looking at kind of new monetization routes where the KOL could be asked personally, what projects are you into? What tokens are you into? And then there's a trade bot as well, where it says like, you can also follow my trades and buy this at the same time. And then they'd obviously get like a revenue share aspect. So I think kind of going off of their popularity with brands, and then if they're specifically a trading KOL, then we can obviously monetize on that factor too.
Are you guys thinking about, say, for example, the agent of the KOL actually going and sourcing business opportunities for the KOL?
So we're sourcing the business opportunities currently, but I think they can also kind of speak for themselves. Like a lot of things happen in this space are referral based. So I think when they're added to one project, another project sees the replica talking in one of their groups or recommending something, then I think they would be interested from that too.
I see.
Okay. Have you ever had the problem of, you know, I mean, right now it's still contracts between you, or eventually it will be in the future. Have you ever had the problem of, you know, disputes between, you know, oh, this is not the way I expected it to be, this agent is not working? Like, have you ever had this problem in your, you know, practical workflows?
We haven't had it where the KOL or the project isn't happy with it, but us as team members were very critical, I'd say, of our workflow. So we constantly message the replicas, asking them stuff, interacting with them, especially because they're updated daily. We just want to make sure there's no kinks in the system. So I'd say it's just us being nitpicky with certain things that we want it to phrase better, or we want it to be shorter, longer answers. So I think we just are constantly trying to change and improve from our side.
I mean, what we were discussing, and we are discussing constantly, is that, you know, what if agents, and I'm just gonna kick it off because I know that Albert can explain this topic way better than I can. It's like you have an agent who hires another agent, an agent who steps into a business relation, into a trade with another agent. And then you're like, okay, this, you know, something is disputed. You haven't fulfilled your the contract to the extent you should fulfill your contract. Like, what do you do? There is no judge you could call. There is no, you know, system, no legal system that you could, for all those billions and trillions of transactions, that you could just plug into. Like, what do you do? What do you do, Albert, if there's a dispute between agents, or an agent and a human? How could you potentially resolve this in the future?
Well, I mean, I think the problem here is that if you look into the, you know, dispute resolution in general, right? So disputing a claim in general, let's say, you know, through arbitration, it can be, you know, months, potentially years. If it's a dispute in front of a judge, that's, you know, you're talking really years, right? So the average or the median cost of a dispute is about $100,000. So anything below $100,000, it's probably not worth for you to actually be going and arguing, right? Especially like cross jurisdiction. Like, imagine that, you know, you have a person in China, the other one is in the US. Like, okay, where are we actually litigating? Okay, let's say that we do it in the UK because we don't trust each other's jurisdictions. Now it's even more expensive, right? So the whole thing, essentially the whole legal system, is a little bit upside down. It's extremely slow and expensive, right? And so the way we look at it is going to be very, very challenging for these agents to, you know, to just be able to trust each other. I think that there's going to be some centralized ways to do that, right? Like, for example, I can imagine, you know, calls to essentially have both two agents from two different celebrities essentially dealing with each other. I think that can happen, and I think that potentially you will have that they can also go and do outreach to other companies and essentially get them to set campaigns with a specific KOL that it's representing. But ultimately, it's going to be, okay, how much can you do if you don't even know who the counterparty is, right? So what we see in crypto is that you, in many situations, you don't really know who the counterparty is, right? You are trading on Uniswap. You don't know who the liquidity provider is. You're borrowing on Aave. You don't know who is essentially lending out the money to Aave to then, allow you to get that loan, right? So the question here is really like, what can you do in a way that is really like composable, global, right? And the way we're doing it is essentially what I said before, of like, creating this like synthetic jurisdiction, this global layer for commerce that already has these contracts with their embedded dispute resolution or contract resolution, right? So there's this concept, for example, for example, of performance-based contracts, right? So you say, okay, what happens if you, for example, can write in code, hey, if you write a tweet about my project and you follow these specific rules, then you will be able to get paid because of this, right? But instead of having to go to the judge or instead of having to make it an argument between both parties, you can essentially have the contract itself evaluate that piece of content and see if it's correct.
I think your audio just dropped off, Albert.
Just for a few seconds.
Yeah. While Albert is plugging back in, first time, Albert. First time, I just want to announce a milestone. We have 1,061 viewers right now. So that's the first 4 digits since we're doing this.
Nice.
And it's up to you guys. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Happy to be here.
Albert, please go on. You just
No, I think I was wrapping up. Essentially, the idea here is like we are building this network that essentially has an embedded core system that you can essentially write contracts on, right? And so what will happen is that you will have different type of contracts. One of those types is this performance-based contracting, and I think that KOLs is essentially perfect for that, because then you can essentially have contracts that you can be interacting with people all over the planet to essentially get a dispute resolution, essentially get these agreements be settled autonomously, right? Like you can essentially tell the contract itself, go fetch this piece of content, verify, how many likes did it get, from who, is it correct, is it valid, and so on, and then pay the influencer, right? And on the other end, I think for you as well, guys, will be another business model, right? So it's essentially a way for these agents that are writing, for example, content to now be able to monetize their content, right? You will see quite a lot of these in Genlayer, I think.
I may know a company that's building something like that. It starts with a G. I don't want to spread too much information.
No, but like I think what Claire said before, right? So for example, like referrals, right? So that's another that's another type of contract that you can do on Genlayer, right? Essentially, Genlayer will allow for new business models that now are very much centralized and will be able to enable agents to make money, right? So agents can make money by generating content or by selling things, for example, right? How do you sell things? Well, you need a referral. So, okay, you generate the referral and then you go and try to find a customer for that specific referral, right? Totally on-chainable, right? So something on that front is coming soon for sure.
Yeah. Well, I would also like to wrap it up. I know that time is running. So if there's any more questions, I think we can answer one or two. We've had a few already. But if anyone wants to ask, now is the time. Otherwise, we are going to wrap it up.
So what are your future plans?
For Coles?
Yep.
Yeah, just new opportunities for the KOLs. Right now, we're really focused on onboarding new KOLs. So when a project comes to us, we want to have small, medium, large KOLs focused in every different area so that we're able to easily offer like multiple options for projects to work with. And then for the KOL's perspective, just adding new revenue options for them. So right now we're creating agent liquidity pools. So it would be tokens of our KOLs attached to our KOLs tokens. We're looking at different ways of adding utility to these tokens, which we might be working with you guys on. And then other things like NFTs, automatic posting, the Twitter integration I mentioned earlier. I think you said at one point the opportunity for KOLs to speak to each other through the replicas. That's also on our roadmap. So eventually being able to do a live stream like this where it's just two replicas having a conversation with each other, I think would be very cool. But yeah, overall onboarding new KOLs and then just more revenue opportunities for the KOLs within the platform.
And how do you think that the future is going to be when basically everybody has their own replicas, right? And they're speaking to each other, like there's going to be so much content. So like how do you think marketing is going to change then, right? Like, am I going to be reading Twitter myself, or am I just going to have my agent just doing that for me as well, right? So how do you think things are going to change?
I think it will be a bit of both. I think KOLs really benefit from kind of the constant posting. That's how they stay relevant. So I can definitely tell myself when someone's posting personally versus maybe like they're using ChatGPT to post for them. So I think the replicas can help them with the continuous engagement, always staying relevant. And then it just gives them more time to kind of focus on their strategy, overall structure, what they want their personal image to be, and then those really more thoughtful pieces online. So I think it's just more reach and then more strategy behind the scenes. Rosie, do you have any thoughts on that?
Actually, I would love that to happen. So I would love to have my replica on Twitter posting for me, because I genuinely don't want to be on Twitter like 24/7.
Rosie also has an amazing replica. It's very accurate.
Yeah, my replica is my absolute favorite, and it's like it talks like me. I'm spending like an hour at least like to train it every day.
She's dedicated.
Yeah.
Replicas
everywhere in the future.
I'm thinking about it. Like, I wonder what I need to. Yeah, I don't think I'm too far off to actually like do it myself. To be honest, I think it would be quite good. I wonder what the workflow would be for me to feel comfortable. You know, like from a legal standpoint, for example, right? And like that type of thing.
Yep.
So reputational things, I think like it's actually very good already, right? But on the legal front, you know, like it's always complex and things are moving very quickly. So like it's yeah.
Yeah. Well, we would love to create a replica for you if you would like one.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, let's have a meeting and do that.
Okay.
I think we need to. Yeah, I don't know. I just wonder how things are gonna work when basically everybody has one. Right, and then do you want to get that content or not? Like how if it changes or not? Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, for sure, not everybody will be aware of it or will be able to understand that that's happening, right? But yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, guys. I see no more questions coming in, so I just wanted to say someone just mentioned that the POAP mint window is closed. I opened it again, so you can mint again with Chainlayer minus KOLs or calls. Chainlayer minus calls, you can mint your POAP. And final message: where can we check out calls? What can we do? Same question then for you, Albert. Where should we go to check out Chainlayer, and what can we do?
Yeah, please follow us on Twitter at CoolsChat. And then our website is also cools.chat, so you guys can stay up to date there. We post about any relevant news. We also have a Telegram group that you guys can join. Feel free to message any of the team members if you have any suggestions, feedback. We love feedback. If you guys talk to our replicas and you think anything is missing, or you have any ideas for ways that we can elevate the platform, we really appreciate user feedback or project feedback. So please feel free to send us a personal message. We would love to see it. And yeah, thank you so much for having us. It was really nice to get to know you guys today.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome. I think I want to try. So like ping me or something and let's
yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, we're in contact with them, Albert, already, so we can put you in the group as well, and then we can create the. Albert, yeah. So Albert, do you want to wrap it up from our side?
On our side, I mean, as you can imagine, we're like, so follow the socials, join the Discord and Telegram. Just about an hour ago, we published, one of our team members, the foundation lead, David Rudo, he published an article where he's basically explaining, like why we're doing Zenlayer, right? I mean, you have probably the tweet on the Zenlayer Twitter, and then I would suggest take a look at that. I think it's a very good post to essentially understand like where we are, right? We're in this very strange moment where the world is kind of upside down. You see like the trade wars and like everything is just really, 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 really complex, right? So we think that we need a new infrastructure for trust, right?
Amazing.
So we need,
well, thank you guys. I'm also just going to thank everyone for joining. I'm also very happy that we finally made the quota of women. I think that we haven't had this ever before. It's refreshing to see that in the crypto space as well. And yeah, hope to see you very soon again.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you, everyone. See ya. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.